you know,
Yeah,
and,
so
and
he
and then
was
he
doing
burned
that.
the
This
Vagar
kid
in the
was not a
face.
bitch. He
No.
was like, "We're gonna get out of this. Like, do
Yep.
your turn now." Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, he was very very brave.
He
And
was doing his shit, and then he understood that his dragon was smaller, faster, and can maneuver better,
yeah,
and that's why he put his dragon through that what is that called, like a valley?
Airbender versus Firebender
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah, that valley in between
hmm
mountains or whatever. It was tight. Vagar couldn't go, so he had to go up. He went through, and then he almost escaped, but then his dragon was like, "Nah, I ain't a bitch." So he turned around and spit some hot fire at Vagar like his name was Dylon, right? And Vagar was like, "Who's this little fly?" Like trying to come at me. And then both of them were struggling to control their dragons. Their dragons at that point, they're like, "Nah, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want." Now this is dragon fighting territory.
hmm
And it's interesting also to see this because they mentioned this, I think, in the last episode. It's like we don't want to involve dragons. Like
Yeah.
that's not the best case scenario. Like involving the dragons is gonna be bad,
Let's
Yeah.
just
right?
say that
That means war.
the dragons, for anybody who catches this reference, they kind of had a dragon moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
Joe
wait,
was
is that
like
Boone?
Oh.
pleading, like serve me.
For anybody who didn't understand that reference, go watch Boondocks. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Los Wise Guys podcast. I am your host, Eslam, aka the Daddy, accompanied by Dan, the baby boy, Disco, the metaphysical, and special guest, Rusty. How's it going, fellas? How's everybody
What's
doing?
up? It's going good. Good to be back.
Chilling,
Long time no
chilling.
see.
Good, good, good. All right, so on this episode, we're going to get right into it. We are going to be doing Battle of the Prequels, House of the Dragon versus The Rings of Power. So, don't forget to follow us on our social medias. Um, right there on your screen. Go like, subscribe, share, rate, review on our YouTube channel. Liking and subscribing is free and it helps us out immensely. And then last but not least, go check out the Los Wise Guys website, loswiseguys.com. House of the Dragons. We'll start with that. It happened. We got a prequel. It was pretty cool. I want to hear some initial thoughts. No spoilers yet. Give me your initial thoughts on the whole season, and then we'll get into some spoilers later. Rusty, since you're our special guest, why don't you let us know what you thought?
It totally like blew my expectations away.
Hmm.
I was scared after Game of Thrones. They want to do a prequel. It's like maybe they just want to cash in on how popular Game of Thrones is, and it's going to be even worse than the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, specifically season 8 that left a bad taste for all of us. But I'm extremely impressed with the people running this show. Thank God it's a new crew of people. They have like a really confident vision for their story and how they want to tell it, and I loved every bit of it. Can't wait for more.
Nice, nice. Dan, as someone who was very against Lord of the Rings, sorry, House of the Game of Thrones
all of
early
them.
on,
Just say
all of
everything
them,
you can think of, Dad.
all of them. You hate Rocky Four, I know you do. It's
I was
okay.
waiting
House
for
of
the
the
Rocky
Game of
Four. It's not
the
true.
Ring
It's not
Lords.
true. You could say everything else. It's fine. I do not hate Rocky Four. That is
So Game of Thrones,
so.
you weren't a big fan when it was out. You tried it a couple times. Then you finally gave House of the Dragon a shot. You
I was
enjoyed it.
forced to
Went
do so.
back. You went back. You watched some Game of Thrones. You enjoyed that. So give us what's your thoughts on this prequel, even though you haven't seen all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones yet.
Yeah, no. I mean, you said it in a nutshell, man. Like, House of the Dragons is so good. It made me like Game of Thrones. Like,
Awesome.
and I'm somebody I've been shitting on Game of Thrones for the longest time. You guys have been checking out
Yeah,
this podcast for
yeah,
forever. All I would do is shit on Game of Thrones. House of the Dragons, I saw like the first 2 episodes. Like, let me give Game of Thrones that one last chance. I always said I was gonna give it one more
Nice.
chance.
yeah,
So House of the Dragons made me do that. Now I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't finished season 2 of Game of Thrones. It's nowhere near as good as House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is
yeah.
better than season 1 and season 2 from what I've seen so far of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is probably
Okay.
gonna get better. I don't know, but House of the Dragon's got a beat hands down. Very good show. I'm enjoying it very much. I love the political aspect of it, which Aslam, you
Hmm.
always told me that's something that's in Game of Thrones, but
Hmm.
their politics are not as interesting to me as the House of the Dragons politics. But
I
overall, I
think I
think it's a
agree
great
with
show.
that.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's a great show. I'm having a good time. I always want to know what's going to happen next, especially with this the way it ended. I want to know where they're going to go for season two. But
Oh yeah.
there you go. That's what I got.
Disco.
I you know, I feel like Game of Thrones took like a season or two to build up, whereas House of the Dragons had just hit the ground running. I feel very confident in this next season. I want to see where it's going. They had me, from the start to the end. I was just through all the scandal and all the good stuff and the juicy bits and the diplomacy and just pretty much the battle for the throne. It just was compelling. I really loved it, and I would recommend it. Definitely, highly recommend it.
All right. I'm gonna agree with everybody and what was all said. Obviously, I love this show. I do not 100% agree with Dan about it being better than season 1 and 2 of Game of Thrones. I think it's up there equally just as good with those seasons, but I have a different love for those seasons, the first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed the hell out of those. Actually up to like all the way up to like season 4 or 5. So with House of the Dragon, the time skips there was a lot of them, and that was the one minor issue I had with it was there was like a time skip like every single episode.
And
Really,
they
I
didn't
love that.
explain them at all. It was just like
Yeah.
they're older, like randomly. I'm like, oh shit.
So like Game of Thrones had that too, but it was like months where it was just like travel time that they were
Yeah.
skipping.
Mhm.
But there were no like huge age like time skips like they did here. Now it made sense here in what they were trying to do in the story they're trying to tell and where they want to get to. I think if they would have um stay too long in the younger version of some of these characters, the season could have gotten boring. But again, that was my only issue. But it wasn't hard to keep up because you realized what was happening right away,
Yeah.
and they mentioned it in the dialogue at some point within the episode of how long that time skip was. So it was there. It wasn't like too confusing, but it was what it was. So definitely enjoyed the hell out of it. All right.
Yeah, I actually wanted to jump in right off what you were talking about with the time jumps for this
Mm-hmm.
season. Um, I
Oops.
definitely agree with you that it like the audience is not used to that, and so it's definitely jarring for it to happen. I do think that as time goes on and we get more seasons,
Mm-hmm.
we will look back and appreciate those time jumps at the beginning even
Yes.
more.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that like the because in the like let's say up to the first 5 episodes of this season, there's like big time jumps happening almost every episode.
Mm-hmm.
We're like it's a brand new show and we're trying to get acquainted with it and we're like wait a minute, is this going to be the pace of like the entire show? Because that's just crazy. We can't get like acquainted with anyone. We can't like get to feel that we really know these people.
Correction. I would love that. Just saying.
And yeah, that's I mean that would be cool for some people. It's like not what we're used to with Game of Thrones because Game of
Mhm.
Thrones really took like 8 seasons of
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
sitting with
Really
these
long. A
characters.
lot of nothing happening. Real boring. Yeah.
So I think now, and they've already confirmed like time jumps are done. So these
Yes, they
characters
did.
that we have at the end of season one, we keep
Mhm.
them for the next several seasons. So like what they did in season one was actually so cool that like usually we don't get to have characters get that fleshed out, and they really did give us so much backstory, and we feel very like
Mhm.
intimate with it because we saw
Yeah,
it for
instead
like
of
5 or 6.
jumping to what the characters we have now,
Yeah,
and maybe in dialogue or in
instead of flashbacks, flashbacks would
or
have sucked.
flashbacks, they gave us into the time skips. Yeah, so one of the things I really enjoyed and I found myself watching was the after the episode ended, like the directors and the showrunners kind of speaking about the episodes and where things were going and why
Mm,
they made certain decisions. And after the 10-year time jump, they said that was going to be the last big jump like
mm.
that. And then I think like the next episode it jumped like 6 years. So I was just like, guys, I was like,
That's
fucking
accurate.
Come
bye.
on,
That's
guys.
that's accurate though. They didn't do another 10-year time jump. It was less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, 6 years is still a big time jump, but it was fine because then we got to see all the young boys that were gonna
You
be
love
the
those young
majority.
boys.
Yeah, that is gonna be the majority of like the next seasons and the fighting and all this shit.
Uh-huh.
Got to teenage levels, and it's kind of like, all right, now we are gonna get to the real fun shit in the next couple seasons.
Can I
So
You
just
get
jump
to
in?
see that
Oh,
you get
never
to
mind.
see that rivalry start from when they're kids to like actually blooming
Mhm.
adults, and really you really do get to appreciate those skips, even though it is a little off-putting at first, but totally worth it because it's just the right amount of youthful like growth. The writers did an amazing job, and the camera people, the cinematographers, directors, they all did a great job as well, making it come to life. The script and
Oh, we'll
it
get to the
was.
cinematography in a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful
So,
throughout.
all right. So we did episode 1 on here before. Episode 2, Viserys was offered the hand of one of Corlys's daughters, who was 12 at the time. She was
Hmm.
very young. That scene was a little weird. He was walking with her in the garden, like she's like, "Are you gonna marry me?" And I was just like, "What is happening right now?" But that's like one of the big things that happened in episode 2. Then there was a time skip of 6 months between episode 1 and 2. Episode 3, we jump in. There's a 2-year time skip. There was the hunt because of at
The
the end
Hunt
of
was
episode
great.
2. At the end of episode 2, King Viserys announced that he was going to marry Queen. Not Queen. Well, she will
Allison.
become the Queen, but Lady
Allison
Alicent.
Hightower.
Hmm.
And
Hightower.
and then they have a son who is what's his name? The
Aegon.
Aegon,
Conqueror.
Aegon.
Aegon. Thank you.
Yeah.
and then
Aegon.
Aemon.
Yeah, so they have the first son, so that's why they have the hunt for his name day, kind of, which was kind of what they were celebrating. Um, the We also got to see that dragons can feel the pain of the rider, when because at the same time, Damon was fighting in the sea stones
Hmm.
or
Stepstones.
stepstones, and he got hit with an arrow, and his dragon like howled. So we got to see
Huh.
there
I
was
didn't
that.
even notice that. Okay.
Yeah, there we got to see that connection between them. You also got to see that at the end when Rhaenyra was having uh, Rhaenyra was given birth again, and she had that stillborn. They were going back and forth between her and her dragon,
Mm,
and you saw her dragon also kind of wailing in pain.
100%. Yeah, you're right.
There is a connection between these dragons and these riders. That's why when after we'll get to that with Vagar, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll go through that again. But they were hunting, they were killing, they were going for killing the stag, the white stag. They couldn't find it. Viserys stabbed this other stag. Also, the King Viserys had lost 2 fingers. Now, King Viserys, since episode like 2 or episode 1, you notice that he gets cut from the throne, from the Iron Throne, and he was getting sick. Now we don't know if it's an infection. My theory is it's like syphilis or some shit like that, because of this, because they're like open sores that don't heal,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things from like syphilis. But
Part of
he
the lore of the books that I just read a little tidbit about that is that it's a myth in Westeros that the
the throne,
throne
yes, yes,
itself
yeah,
can reject.
rejects, yeah, yeah,
You got it.
yeah, rejects.
So,
If it's not the right king, it can reject them
yeah,
because
poor guy.
I guess it was supposed to be
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's so true because like Damon and him and Viserys were like brothers, and but
Yeah.
by the end of the season, you see Viserys is like looks 100 years old, and Damon's
Yeah,
still
because of
like
the
Well,
disease.
young
yeah,
and youthful. Yeah,
everybody aged like slightly, if at all, and then you look at Viserys, and this man's just like he aged like
Falling
300 years.
apart.
Yeah.
he's like hobbling,
Like literally missing half his face. Like,
Which shout out to the actor. My God, he was
Yeah.
so great. I loved
yeah, what's his name? Patty
Viserys.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Patty
Viserys was a
something.
great actor.
Besides
Um,
besides the finale, I think that just Viserys' final episode and that final
Yeah.
dinner was just
That
one
was a
of the
great-
it
strongest
was
points
phenomenal.
of any
Yeah.
television I've seen.
That was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Um,
It was
he's
even
awesome.
George
Yeah.
R.R. Martin was like he said to Patty in a tweet, he was like, "Your Viserys was better than my Viserys," in like the books, I guess that he, which I
yeah.
thought was like a,
That,
a
that
nice.
that's a big honor.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Vin Diesel would have been proud, for that speech. Family, family.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I was like, wait, I was like, how did Vin Diesel come into this? And then you said family. I was
For a
like,
second,
okay.
I thought thought he meant to say Viserys, and he said Vin Diesel. I'm not correcting that. I'm letting that go. Let's put Vin Diesel in here. Let's redo this season and have Vin Diesel play the part of Viserys, just as Vin Diesel.
So
that
I'm curious, how did you guys I guess initially like the young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, and then what was your initial reactions when they finally switched actresses?
So, I can start with that. I really enjoyed the younger versions.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra was like a rebel. She was like very teenager like, and I
Hmm.
enjoyed that. And when they switched the actresses, she got older. I almost didn't like her character change, but it made sense because it's like, all right, when you're a child you can kind of live in this world with no responsibilities, but when you get to that age and you have responsibilities and you kind of understand what's going on, you
Hmm.
kind of have to cut back on like the sassiness and all this bullshit, kind of play the politics.
Yep.
And they showed that contrast very well. I really enjoyed that, with both girls.
Hmm.
Alicent
I
was like super like naive, and then she became the queen, and then she kind of had to wake up a little bit. She's still somewhat naive even towards the end, but
What
there
did you
was a
think
little bit of
of
change.
what did you
I
think
like
of young Alicent? Her final scene, young Alicent's pretty much final scene, was walking in to the ballroom in the green dress
Yeah,
with like a real fuck you attitude,
yeah.
which I thought was like the first
She was
like
very
sign
late. Yeah.
that
I
she's like she's got her eye on the ball and like she can do this. She can go for the throne if she
well,
wants to.
didn't they say that was like a war dress too? So it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
she
It
meant
was the war
business when she
colors
came.
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
High Towers. Yeah, the
Yeah.
green.
the
And
greens.
she
That's
stays
really cool.
wearing green throughout for the rest of the show.
I liked going back to like when they were kids. I liked Rhaenyra when she was younger. Like you said, she was playful, but like it was the right amount of time to keep them that young too, where you
Hmm.
could see them grow and like you could see her kind of getting close to Damon and kind of that one time they sneak out and it kind of establishes her sexuality for the rest of her life because she kind of gets this idea of like sex is there's marriage and then there's like sexual for pleasure
Hmm.
and she into her like even adult years she like carries those ideals with her because she always has like a side piece especially
Yeah.
with Laenor and then but like you said you see this playful side of her and like she's young and teeny and then she gets hardened by being heir to the throne like and it's crazy because I think she's like one of my favorite characters in the show, and I just feel like she's
Mhm.
gonna die, and it's killing me because I like I'm getting attached to her. Um, but I thought the time skips, although off-putting, they definitely helped her character, and you could see uh, this queen being hardened and forged into between her kids rights to the throne get
Mhm.
questioned and the scandals of her always being her cheating and the right and her kids aren't really uh high blood just
Yep.
like and Alicent too she kind
Oh,
of like as a young kid just wants to be that queen part but then as like towards the end you see her kind of like I just gave my life to these men like
Hmm.
mhm.
and now she's like trying to make her own life and path since
Yep.
it's really it's her now's her chance and
Yep.
so I really love that growth from both those sides and awesome work.
Dan, you want to say something?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of like the actors, like from a young age to the actors that are when they're playing the older versions of the characters, I enjoyed all of them. Um, with that, I mean, you guys pretty much just said everything you need to say. I don't reiterate on that. But one thing I do want to mention is like Viserys is probably like my favorite throughout everybody I've seen in the show,
Hmm.
and second is a tie between both Otto and Alicent Hightower by far. I enjoy both of them so much. I don't know if it's because of the wrestling fan of me. You always cheer for the heels. You can't help it.
Okay.
But it's just like I don't know, just seeing them. The actor who plays Otto Hightower, I can't remember his name. This man's done everything, and I've always seen him like mostly in like comedic roles and stuff like that movie. So seeing him be like somebody so serious and
Well,
doing it so well.
it's funny because Damon was in the same boat, right? He was the doctor. He was Doctor
Doctor
Who.
Who.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, where he's all this goofy, like oh
yeah.
swiggly wiggly, and now
I didn't
he's
even
like
know.
this
Yeah.
hardened
But
warrior.
he's
It's
Yeah.
really
arguably one of his biggest reputation, I would say, is the crown. He plays like Prince Andrew or Prince, well, like one of
Mm.
the princes. So that's pretty close to he's royalty here as well. It's just one's
Oh,
more
interesting. I
Yeah.
did not know
grounded
that.
in.
But the actor that's playing Otto Hightower, like you could go back and you look at what I consider one of Keanu Reeves' only ever good movies, The Replacements, where it's like he's literally the guy who was like he had like a debt and he was just like this dude who used to play soccer and he's like, yeah, I could kick a ball, so he's a kicker on a football team. That is Otto Hightower. Like seeing for him go from that to where he is now, it's like this man's proven that he's very much a good actor. So I love it when he's on the screen. And
Yeah.
Allison, man, just seeing the
Yeah, she
character
did good.
develop, like from young Allison, who I thought she was like very shy and she was just like
Hmm.
basically just Rhaenyra's like little sidekick, and then you see like when she walks in green, and then you see older Allison who's just like, hey, I'm doing this for my family. It's like everybody's like just taking a backseat to my family. I know the truth. I'm gonna call everybody out on it. I'm like the mother and I'm looking out for my family and doing what I feel is right. So like a true heel, like a good heel, like a good antagonist, she's doing what she feels is right. And at the end of the day, you can't really fight her for it because everything she's done, she's in the right. Like in her mind, the whole thing, I guess spoilers with the whole, the new succession to the throne. In her mind, what she's
Mhm.
saying is absolutely true. And she's
Yep.
fighting for that right. And I feel like that's just amazing that everybody believes that they're right
Hmm.
in what's happening. And I don't know, I love the Hiders. I really do.
I'm so glad you said it. My friends I've been watching it with, they're all talking about how they're team black this whole time, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know. Just even at the younger age, when Allison realizes that Rhaenyra went out with Daemon and potentially got all scandalous with him, she wasn't even angry at her out of like how could you be with him or it's
Like,
incestuous or
why'd you
something.
lie
She's
to
like,
me?
why'd you lie to me? And like, why are you being like a child when I'm the one that's been put in a position where I have to do everything that's expected of me? And
Hmm.
my dad essentially whored me out and I
Yeah.
accepted it. And now I'm stuck sleeping with this man and giving him his children. Like, and then she did all the work. She took care of Viserys. Oh my God. The scenes when they show Viserys having sex with her and she's
Mm.
just dead in the eyes and she's
Hmm.
just
Yep.
taking it. Like,
Yeah.
the show does so much to exactly what you said that like it justifies her point of view on this so well that makes
Mhm.
me love her character so much. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping forward again a little bit, but like Rhaenys sees it, and that's like people are like, why didn't Rhaenys like burn everyone down,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like and but like Rhaenys got that like understanding with
Yep.
Alicent that
Hmm.
like this is a woman that like puts her duty first,
Yep.
like she's not just evil, and I love that kind of just complexity to these characters because it makes you like you're somehow rooting for both of them and you're somehow against both of them. Like there's so
At the
much mixed
same
emotion on it.
time,
Yeah.
Rhaenys also Rhaenys wasn't sure about Rhaenyra, and we're just gonna jump forward to this part. Going off of what Rusty said, when she got back from that, when she
Mhm.
escaped and she got back and she told them and she told Rhaenyra what happened, Rhaenys was like on the fence of like what they wanted to do. I think she made her decision to back Rhaenyra when Rhaenyra was in the war room. Damon was like, "We're gonna go ape shit with the dragons. We have more. There's a couple here, like that are no riders." And Rhaenyra's like, "Well, what's the point if I'm just gonna be ruling over like burnt bones and all this shit? Like my father wanted peace. Like this is what I'm gonna try to do." And Rhaenys saw that and she was like, and she said it to Corlys, she's like, she's the only one in there that's like trying to keep the peace and like not trying to burn everything to the ground. And I think
And
that's when she like flipped to Rhaenyra's side. And I enjoyed that little detail, like those conversations.
she
All
said
the
she's in a
men,
she's in
all
a
the
room.
men, all
Exactly
the
what you were
men
gonna say.
were ready to fire the missiles, and she
Yeah,
actually
Yeah,
like had the cojones to stand up to
yeah.
all of them and just be like, "Hold on, let's chill out." It's
And I
and
guess
then
little
that's when she saw she can actually rule as a queen.
yeah, yeah.
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 Little aside about that scene. Can we talk about that fucking war table?
Oh, oh yes,
The
yes, yes. One
fire
second, one
that
second, one
Oh
second.
my god.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I got you.
Oh my god. What, it was so beautiful, dude.
Dude,
I
when
hope that's
they
real. I hope that's real. And they
when
lit
they
that
lit
thing.
it under when they split all the candles and they put it up and then it slowly started glowing, I was like, "Oh shit." I was
Amazing.
like, "This is amazing."
People are gonna get this like made and lit and put on their wall and shit. Like
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
are gonna
100%. Apparently it's way smaller than described in the book. In the book it was like 50 feet long by
whatever.
like
Damn.
20 feet
In the book,
wide,
the
but
Iron Throne is also like 30 feet high with like spikes everywhere and stuff.
yeah.
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 Like relax.
Still super dope though. It's really
No, yeah, one hundred
amazing.
Yeah,
percent.
The
I
details
enjoyed the
and
hell out of that, but yeah. All right, let me get back to the bullet points real quick. All right, so the white stag shows up to Rhaenyra, which I thought was which was nice because it was their way of telling you like she is the heir, she is like the true heir, because the white stag, which is the symbol of royalty or like the king, is like showed up to her and not to her father. All right. Episode 4. Damon returns. The hand. I put the hand is watching. I don't remember why I put that, but Rhaenyra. Oh, the hand is watching because Rhaenyra was doing like he was watching because this is what we were talking about when she went out with Damon. I think it was this. This is when finally Rhaenyra and Alicent were starting to get back their relationship together. You got Masira as the White Worm. I forgot her name.
I forget her too.
And then Otto gets kicked out as the Hand by the end of episode 4. And then Lord Strong takes over as the Hand because at the hunt, he suggested that Rhaenyra be married to Laenor, and the king was like, "Oh, you're gonna say she should be married to your son?" He's like, "No, I mean I appreciate the offer, but like I think it's better for her to marry a Valerian. That way you can make your house strong again."
Make your
Yeah.
house strong. I'm sorry, yes.
Then we go to episode 5. So Damon is like literally one of my favorite characters in the show, and he goes and kills his wife in
Oh
episode
my God.
5, which was hilarious.
Technically, you didn't touch her. We don't know.
Y- well, I mean, he picked up a rock,
Probably.
but
Yeah, no, he did.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the Rock
Sir.
touched her.
I was remembering the first part, not how he ended it completely.
Allegedly, we never saw it, so you never
Yeah.
Oh,
know.
okay.
Sir. Was this no episode 5? No, yeah. There was no time skip yet. Damon kills his wife. Sir Kristen's a snitch. He's a little bitch. Ever since Rhaenyra hit that and was like, "You're just gonna be my side piece, and I'm not gonna leave with you." He also lost
he
his.
really thought she was gonna run away and abandon
Yeah.
all the royalty. She
Ultimate,
was like,
ultimate
"You're,
incel.
you're
Yo,
insane. I'm not
yo,
leaving
bro.
my
Like,
heir to the
I was like,
throne."
damn,
Like,
how good was she? Like,
I
to
mean,
be
they're both
to.
virgins and they both were into each other.
And she was being so rational about it too. She's like, "Yo, we can still like have our fun
Yeah.
on the side.
Yeah.
What's the
Exactly. Like, and she's like, my man is gay. Like, he does. We're not gonna even be sleeping together. It's just gonna be like he's gonna have his dude. I'm gonna have you. We're gonna live life. And he was like, no.
It's
Fucking
like, I've already soiled my cloak. This is
yeah.
all I have.
Like fucking.
That
Then he
just
tried to go.
reminds me
He tried to go commit Harry Carey, and I was just like, come on, bro.
when
See,
he.
I would
This is
I
a
like
little after the time skip, but when he is talking with Alicent about
Yeah.
Rhaenyra behind their back, and he
Mhm.
calls her a cunt, and Rhaenyra's like, "Whoa, check yourself."
yeah.
I just,
Oh,
or,
Alicent.
Slow the fuck
sorry,
down.
Yeah.
Alicent was like, "Check
Yeah.
yourself. You don't talk about
Yeah.
her like that." I love that shit.
So so he loses his shit at the feast, murders Sir Laenor's like boyfriend.
Yeah, he
And
does.
I love
Oh,
the ending of that episode because it kind of like all this crazy shit was happening in the background and this poor guy's just laying there with his brains on the floor. And then like I think this rat comes out of nowhere and starts eating like bits of his brain and like licking the blood that was there. And like that's how like the episode ended, I think. I was like, damn, I was like, that's
it was
fucking
so
wild.
it
The
was
rat
so
was eating the
brutal.
brain as in the that was in the foreground. In the background, they were finishing the marriage.
Yes, yes, yes.
They
Yeah,
were
yeah.
like, we need to get this shit done now.
Yeah, that shit, I was like, what the fuck? Um,
It was so brutal. I was surprised they showed it too. Like half the head was
And
like
why
skull
would
was
he-
popped open and shit. It was wild.
and why was he killing the boyfriend?
He
Like,
was talking shit about something. I forgot what
He
it
was
was.
Well,
ta-
no, the
he was
boyfriend
talking
ca-
shit and he was blackmailing a little bit. He was like, I know your
Yes,
secret, you
yes.
know my secret. And I don't know why he would react that way. He's just a piece of shit.
yeah, it's. I don't think he. Well, it wasn't blackmail. It was kind of like, it was like, so we're not blackmailing each other. We both know our own shit. What's going on?
It was kind of like, hey, let's kind of like
It's like
work
cheers
together,
to
sort of.
cheers to
Yeah,
being the
let's-
side piece. Like
Yeah.
it's
you
like,
know,
hey, listen,
both
we
of us.
both love these people. Let's protect them. Like that's. I think that's where he was coming from. It's like, hey, listen, you know, I'm with him. I know you're with her. Like these are the people that we're with. Let's like keep shit straight and protect
Yeah.
these people that we supposedly love.
The
and
thing with Kristen was that like
he
he
didn't.
wasn't cool with the agreement from the beginning. So the fact
yeah,
that he's like it's already bad enough that I'm like this now that it's out there and people know, he's like, no, fuck this, I'm done, you're dead. Like, and then that's where he just
Yeah.
decided to kill the dude.
He
Like that's
didn't.
really what it came down
He
to.
didn't want to be the side piece, so he's like, I don't want to cheers to being a side piece. And then he
Yeah,
just smashed him to death.
He has like this super like idealistic like childish view of honor,
yeah,
and it just you see that he's using that, but he's just really a piece of shit. Like
yeah,
especially after the time
so
jump when you really see like what he's
yeah,
dealing with Rhaenyra's sons.
oh yeah, and
yeah.
he's
So
That's when
that's
you
where we.
exactly
really see it.
So
he's
that's where we.
vindictive against like everyone even related to her. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's crazy.
So that's where we come at episode 6. That's when we get the 10-year time jump and the changing of the actors. Now Rhaenyra has 3 sons. The king has lost an arm and is very sick. Sir Harwin is dead. I forget who Sir Harwin. Who's Sir Harwin?
Harwin
I feel like you're
Strong,
giving a
right?
news report
Oh,
and
is
you
it
don't know who you're
Harwin
talking
It's the
about.
Strong?
dude she's
Is
with,
that
Okay,
that had the
all right.
babies with.
Right. So his crippled brother kills him and his father. He becomes the Lord of Strong,
Harrenhal.
whatever.
I mean,
Harrenhal. Okay.
let's talk about him.
He's
Yes.
a great character.
It's
Very,
funny
very
because
sneaky.
I wrote one of my bullet points. I put always the cripple. Um,
Wait, the what very very sneaky. What was that a reference to? Was that not Mr. Deeds?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Because he's
Because
always
I
just
love your
working in the
feet,
background.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it works so well.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's also into
I want to
feet.
smell your feet. Oh, it's so
Exactly.
good.
um, all right, yeah. What were you gonna say about the strong guy?
No, so I just wanted to mention that like if there's anyone who's truly I guess he's yeah, no, if there's anyone who's truly evil in this show so far,
Yeah.
it's him. And he was definitely the like the little finger of this
Yes.
prequel series, and now
Yeah.
I call him the little foot of this series.
That's a good one. I like that.
And I'm just excited to see how much more dastardly he gets.
Yeah, so he killed his brother and father. He killed the white worm after he talked to Allison and saying, "Hey, your father has this network that he lets go around." And she's like, "I can." He's like, "I can remove the head." And he loves killing people by fires. It's
That
like, okay.
might be one of my only criticisms about the show is the way they handled White Worm.
Mm,
That she had a lot of potential because she was there in the first episode, I think, and
yeah.
she disappeared. So we're wondering like where when she comes back, she must come back in a big way,
Mhm.
and she does come back in what seems to be a big way because she has the key to like
Yeah.
the new king. She
Mhm.
like literally is the only one that knows where he is,
Mhm.
and then she's like willing to bargain all that for like better treatment of kids.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then after that, they just wipe her out like almost off screen. Like you just see a fire happen in the building, and I didn't even know if she was dead or not. But I guess I don't
Yeah.
know that we know for a fact that she's dead. I think
Yeah, well, we
she.
don't, but we
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
assume. Yeah. But yeah, that kid cockfighting shit was wild.
Yeah.
Um,
Even more wild was what the kind of fun Aegon was having with those kids, too.
Oh
oh
man,
yeah,
he had the Targaryen little baby on chained to the wall too. Did y'all
Yeah.
see that? That was crazy.
yeah,
He's just pumping out little
A little
babies
bastard child.
out of children.
yeah,
Oh, he's
yeah.
a piece of shit. Piece of shit.
All right, so episode 7, the king is even more sick. Otto is back as the hand. Damon's wife died. Aemond takes Vagar and loses an eye, and Rhaenyra fakes death, marries Daemon. So this is when Rhaenyra and Laenor make a deal because he doesn't want to deal with any of this shit. So he cuts his hair, takes his boyfriend and dips. They fake his death. She marries Daemon at the end of this episode. Aemond
I
connects
like,
with Vagar.
yeah, I like what he
Steals
says at
Vagar.
the end
Yeah.
when he's like, "I lost an eye, but I gained the dragon." I was like,
Yeah.
totally
And
worth
then
it.
and then before that I forgot to mention, oh, so I did mention Daemon wife's died, but his second wife, Laenor's sister, who he had 2 daughters with, and she was about to have the third child. She the way she died was badass, because she was like, fuck this, I'm not going out, like I'm going out the way I want to go out. She
Yeah.
goes to Vagar, and she commands her. I think Vagar is a female. Um, huh?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Um, she commands the dragon Dracarys to breathe fire at her, and like the dragon is like hesitant for a while, like he would like that shit would not budge, and it finally like listened, and it did it.
I feel like the
But
very first time she said it, he almost like ignored her. He's like, "Go to
yeah,
sleep. What are you?"
yeah, he's like, um, yeah, but that was very interesting. I like the way that
It's
happened.
totally badass, and I totally give her all the kudos and then points for that because that was, I mean, just to know you're gonna die and just to go out that way is just
Yeah,
so
as
insane.
a
Just
as a
to
dragon
be
rider, that's how she
to be
wants
yeah.
to go out.
vaporized, just vaporize me. Dracarys my ass.
Yeah.
All right. So episode 8, we got another time skip of 6 years. There's a fight over Driftmark. Uh, this is the first time we see Damon have some emotions towards his brother, I feel.
Mm.
And he comes back and sees him when him and Rhaenyra visit, and he's super sick, and they see how frail he is, and you can see Damon's face like almost feel for his brother, and what he's going through, and like he that's when he like takes the cup and smells it, and he's like, wait, are they trying to kill you? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you this sick? Like, we didn't leave you this sick. And I just thought it was very interesting because he seemed like he just wanted the power, but at the end of the day he still felt something for his brother.
Mhm.
And then episode 8 is also when the king dies, right at the end, and that's when they have the dinner, and that very
So that's the
awesome like
scene where he
moment.
picks up the crown
Yeah.
for his brother, right? As he's
Yes.
climbing the up to
Yeah.
the throne,
Hmm.
which was an extremely powerful scene.
Yeah,
Hey,
and
dude,
then he
when the
places
doors
it on his
open,
head, right?
yeah, yeah, when
Yeah.
the doors open and he comes in with his gold mask and
Hmm.
he's just about to get everyone to shut up and listen, I
Yeah.
mean, that was one of the best performances.
And Damon like helped him up the stairs when he didn't want anybody else's help, and he helped him. Like,
Mhm,
I thought that was very cool. Like,
mhm,
of Damon, like Damon, why he's my favorite character is because he barely speaks,
mhm,
but when he speaks, it's always like good shit, and like his facial expressions and his looks are what did most of the talking. He would
mhm.
either smirk or laugh or just give you that thousand eye stare, and it's just, man, it was he had some awesome intense moments. Episode 9 is when we see the children cockfighting. That's when Aegon is missing,
Mhm.
and they go on a hunt for Aegon. And so now it's Alicent versus Otto. Alicent versus her father, because whoever gets to Aegon first has the king, right? They're gonna decide what goes down. Otto sends two the twin excuse me, the twin brother uh
Soldiers.
Kingsguard,
King
and
soldiers.
then
Sir Eric and
Eric and
Sir
Oric.
yeah,
yeah.
something like Eric and
And then Alicent sends Aemond and Sir Criston. Right.
Mhm,
So the brothers find him first because of the White Worm and Otto Hightower. But Sir Criston and Aemond were smart enough to just follow them, and when they're bringing him out, they were there. They fight. Aemond and Criston win. They're the ones who take the king, and then you have that little conversation between Allison and her father, and she's like, "I have him now, and like we're gonna do this my way." Uh, and then she's like, because she also in the throne room where all the men kind of had like already planned to usurp Rhaenyra and place Aegon as heir. And when she told them like, oh, he said he wanted Aegon to be king, they were like, okay, cool. We're just gonna roll with that because we already
yeah.
planned to do it, and then she was like, you guys were already planning, and I didn't even know, like,
Yeah, they're like, that's nice.
yeah. So I thought that was funny, but
I thought this episode did such a great job at showing like the extents that Otto's willing to go. I mean, if he needs to kill his daughter to ensure that he stays in power, I think
yeah,
he'll do it.
probably,
Um,
yeah,
so it's showing how ruthless he is, and I think it's when she's finally realized that he's an enemy as well, and she needs to like really get smart to
yeah.
outmaneuver him. We
100%.
haven't gotten to Rhaenys yet in this episode.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Bernice is pretty much imprisoned in her room until they decide what they're gonna do, and she ends up escaping. Sir Eric is like, "Nah, what's happening is wrong." He takes her. While they're leaving, they were gathering up the people to the scepter so they can crown Aegon in front of everyone, and they gave him the Conqueror's crown, the Conqueror's sword, and he has the Conqueror's name, and they crowned him as king at the scepter with the what is the maester, the high maester,
Mhm.
and everybody cheered. And then that's when Bernice fucking just pops out with her dragon from under the floor, and she's just like there. She was about to like kill them, and then she saw Alicent step in front of Aegon to protect him, and then she kind of just leaves.
Yo, she
And
stepped on so many people though.
She
yeah,
It's
yeah,
did.
she was like,
I was shocked. I thought she was just gonna leave and just be out when you kind of
yeah.
saw her shuffle out.
Also, I
But
don't know
that's
why
also
they
kind of
were.
like dictates like, or shows how like she's like leaning towards the Rhaenyra side. Like it's slowly building on her.
more
But
than
also
anything, I thought it
like
showed that like if she wanted to be queen, if she really wanted it, she would have done it,
Yeah.
and no one would have been able to stop her.
yeah.
I also don't know why the guards were closing the doors. And Otto was like yelling, "Open the doors!" Like they're gonna hear you from all the way over there, Otto. Like you don't have a microphone, stupid. Um,
Sure, they got good acoustics in there. Yeah, announcing a king.
yeah.
Okay.
Between
Hmm.
mountains or whatever, it was tight. Vagar couldn't go, so he had to go up. He went through, and then he almost escaped. But then his dragon was like, "Nah, I ain't a bitch." So he turned around and spit some hot fire at Vagar like his name was Dylon, right? And Vagar was like, "Who's this little fly?" Like trying to come at me. And then both of them were struggling to control their dragons. Their dragons at that point, they're like, "Nah, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want." Now this is dragon fighting territory.
Mhm.
And it's interesting also to see this because they mentioned this, I think, in the last episode. It's like we don't want to involve dragons. Like
Yeah.
that's not the best case scenario. Like involving the dragons is gonna be bad,
Let's
Yeah.
just
right?
say that
That
the
means war.
dragons for anybody who catches this reference, they kind of had a dragon moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Oh
they're
wait,
both
is that
like
Boone?
pleading, like serve me.
For anybody who didn't understand that reference, go watch Boondocks. But yeah, then we get to episode 10. That's when like they're planning the wars, and this is our season finale. This is when all the crazy shit happens and sets us up for the next season. Rhaenyra gets the message from them that she will keep Dragonstone. She will keep her son Lucerius will keep Driftmark as the heir. Um, her son Jacaerys will take over uh, Dragonstone after her passing, and blah blah blah. They will be given lemon seed. They won't be killed or whatever. Um, and then she had already been crowned as the queen with her father's crown because Sir Eric took the crown and brought it to her. And she addresses
That
Odd.
was a pretty big moment because
That
Yeah.
was an
you know
amazing
up
moment.
until that moment no one's like bowed down to a female queen
Hmm.
ruler, and so
Yeah.
at that moment for one of the guards to actually like take the knee and like pledge their allegiance was huge moment,
Yeah.
and it was really sick. And then Damon puts it on her head. It was a that was awesome.
Can I just take a moment on the knights, the twin knights, Eric
Hmm.
and whatever the other one's name is, Eric too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They, I love that this character exists. I think he's a relatively small character, but it feels like such a representation of the audience. Like honestly, they feel to me more like two sides of like one person's conscience.
Uh huh.
Like one guy's like we gotta do what's right for Allison, the other one's like we gotta do what's right for Rhaenyra. They both have their points that they're making, and it's kind of like they're kind of tearing apart, and they end up on different sides of it, if I understood correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could
And
see when they were fighting. Sorry to interrupt, but you could see when Sir Kristen and Aemon were fighting, how the brothers actually only one of them was fighting, and the other brother was up top just watching, just like
exactly,
you could see the
exactly,
tension
yeah,
there. You could
Also,
see the
like
difference in ideals. Like I'm not
yeah.
fighting for that shit. Like you know,
like
Uh,
also Eric was like Aegon's a piece of shit. He should not be ruling.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, how much longer am I supposed to deal with this
Y-
bullshit? Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, I'm not. I don't want to do this. I'd rather have Rhaenyra. like,
Yeah.
it's
Definitely
like
a
it's
beautiful scene when she's wearing the crown and like her the actor's portrayal of like as she puts the crown on it was like somber. It wasn't like a big powerful moment.
Mhm.
I like because she's already had her miscarriage right
Yeah,
at this
and her
point,
father died.
and her father died. She's
Yeah.
just and like processing so much shit, and you see it on her face as the
The
crowns.
amount of shit Rhaenyra has went through in this season, um, alone is ridiculous. Just
Yeah,
with giving birth, she gave birth to her third son and then went to see the queen.
yeah,
Herself when she was walking after birth, she gave birth here, wrapped up the baby, gave it a funeral, and then was like, "All right, let's get into the war room and talk this out." And it's just like it's wild, crazy shit. All the things that she had to go through, and she's still so badass, and I
She
love
never
that.
gets
and
time
and
to
her
just
father
chill.
died.
That's her thing.
Like,
She everything
Like,
happens, and she doesn't have any time to like deal
yeah,
with it.
exactly.
Just like something happened, boom, got to do something else. It's like
yeah.
she has no time to grieve or do anything.
it's a series of tragedies, just one after another.
Like, I just want to say, Amazon, this is how you do a strong female character.
Oh,
I'm just gonna throw that out there. You know what I'm saying?
God, we're not
But
going to spend too much time on that, are we?
no, no,
yeah. I
yeah,
think
We're
no,
thank God.
I
yeah,
think
yeah, pretty
the
much.
battle is that we're talking about House of Dragons for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That
Um.
proves.
Well, we're almost done with House of Dragons. We're about to get. We're in the last episode now,
Yeah.
and a lot happens in this episode. There's like so both sides are trying to see who's on their side. Both sides are trying to see how they're gonna defeat the other side, right? Rhaenyra's trying the best that she can not to start a war. And so after like all these things happen, Corlys is alive. He's getting better. He comes down. He pledges his allegiance again to Rhaenyra, and he's like, "Driftmark is yours." Also, this time I put a fucking garrison in the Stepstones. They're ours, and we can choke out the trading routes to stop anything from going into the Red Keep,
It's
right?
the Trade Federation for episode 1.
Yeah. Um,
While you're on Corliss, I
yeah.
just if I could just mention that scene where Rhaenys comes in to talk to Corliss.
Yeah.
I just loved how much she's like, "Get your ass up. These guys killed your brother. He's dead because he was being an asshole, and now you're gonna pledge your allegiance to them because they're the rightful people." Like she's pretty much like, "Get up, get dressed. We're going downstairs." Like I don't want to hear this. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Fuck."
It's funny because he had like a big epiphany too. He's like, "Man, I put you through so much shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry for like wasting all your time. And the pursuit of the throne has, clouded my mind." And all of a sudden, she's just like,
Mhm.
"Shut up, we're back in this shit." Like, it's like maybe like a year ago, I would have been like, "Okay, yeah, let's run away." But
Too late now.
her kids are at stake too. So like, she's not gonna play that
Yeah,
game.
like
Yeah.
guys, listen to your
Get your
wives
armor
every
on.
once in a while. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
One thing I want to mention real quick, I forgot. Corliss's brother, I loved him.
Yeah,
Like
he was great.
when he
Yeah.
like with the whole thing, he's just like, you know what? I'm the only person that saying what's right. Everybody's gonna act like this is bullshit. He's like, you know what? Your sons are. Hang on, let me stand back so everybody can see this. Bastards, bastards. We know it. We all know it. He doesn't want to see it, but we know the truth. Head cut off. Like half his head cut off. Like that's it.
Dude.
And he got his head got cut off after calling Rhaenyra a whore,
That's right.
and
He
then
did call her a
Damon
whore.
was like, "All right, I got you,
That's it.
bro."
But that was just perfect. I was like, he was like, nah, man, I got too much honor. I don't care. I'm gonna go out like a G. I'm gonna say the truth. Nobody else wants to
And
say it.
I loved I loved Damon's reaction afterwards because
Yeah.
he like cut off his head, and then all the guards like took out their swords and pointed at Damon. He's like, all right, put it down." Like, like he's like, "What the fuck are you guys gonna do?" Like, um, no, that was great. All right, where was I? So Corlys pledges his allegiance, and now they're like, Rhaenyra's like, "Well, the Starks, the Baratheons, and someone else, we got to make
Tullies.
sure the what?
The Tullys.
The Tullys. Now we got to make sure they're on our side.
Because they had pledged their oaths
They
to
have
Yes,
to
her as the
keep
heir.
true
Yeah.
to their oath that they made originally when Viserys was alive to have Rhaenyra as the heir.
exactly. So they mentioned again that they're like, well, the Starks are pretty much going to be on our sides because the Starks like follow the king or whatever. Like they're honorable
They're
and
honorable. Yeah.
they're gonna keep their promise. And then they're like, we got to make sure the Parathians that he keeps his father's promise because it was a new king. And then you have a new lord, and then you had the Tullys, which we didn't really get to see. So the Maester's like, all right, I'll get ready to the Ravens, and then Jacaerys was like, we should go on Dragonback. One, they fly faster, and two, it'll be more like he said it in
Convincing.
a convincing, yeah, but he meant it in an intimidating way because earlier Damon was like, here, come on, let me teach you a lesson in loyalty. And then he had the dragon come out and ask the two guards, be like, "Hey, are you gonna be with the Rhaenyra or are you gonna die?" Like, which he's like, "Cause if you do it now, you're good, but if you do it now and then later you betray her, then it's like it's gonna be even worse. Now it's gonna be quick, you
Yeah.
know." So I thought that was funny,
Amazing.
and so they go on Dragonback, and we follow Lucerius and he goes to Baratheon,
Which the
and
name of their land, I just it's been mentioned multiple times in Game of Thrones, and
yeah.
we've never seen it before.
Baratheon.
The Baratheon.
No, it's not that.
It was Storm something. Storms.
Storm End.
Anyways, yeah,
Storm End.
Storm's End. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So, um, he,
That shot, my God.
so Lucerius lands, and when he lands, we see Vagar's head just pop up, be like, "Hey, what's going on?" Oh, it's just a little bitch dragon, and then goes back down, right? And then Lucerius walks in. Obviously, Aemond is there, and he hands the scroll to one of the guards, Baratheon, which I thought was Robert Baratheon. Dude looked exactly like him, same fat and haircut, and he couldn't read, so he calls for a maester. The maester reads it. Well, he's like, well, I'm not gonna like you expect me. I'm not your mother's dog. She's gonna come. I'm gonna come to her aid when she whistles. Like, so at least they're offering me a marriage to one of my daughters, like a high marriage. Like, what can you offer? Can you marry? He's like, sorry, I'm already be a promise to someone, and
One of his lines I really liked,
yeah,
the Baratheon kings. He was like, "You come here offering me nothing and demand that I stay true to stale oaths." I love that he said stale oaths. Like
yeah,
he's like, "That's like old news. The fuck are you talking about?
yeah,
Like, where's my money? Where's my wife's or
yeah,
husband's or whatever?" Yeah, it's good
and
shit.
then, and then you send this little pup to try to convince me,
yeah.
like,
That's what he
Yeah,
called him, a little pup.
yo, and the
Uh,
way when he walked. First of all, when like the lightning strikes and you see Vagar just kind of like
yeah,
raise his head for a second in the distance, that was like I heard someone compare it to the world serpent from God of War, like just
nice,
kind
yeah.
of opening his head for a second, and then when he walks inside the castle itself, you see Aemon is already kind of like putting the moves on his new wife, like
Yeah.
he's got all this like evil swag just standing
Another
there.
great
Like,
character, Aemon.
yeah,
So there's like then Eamon just can't help it, right? He's got to pick on this kid, and he calls him strong. He does all this shit, and then he's like, "You're gonna give me an eye," and
he throws
so
his dagger.
yeah, he's like, "You're gonna give me
hmm
an eye. I'm not gonna take both of you. I'm not gonna blind you." And he takes off his patch. There's like a sapphire in there.
what a six fucking stone he's got too. It
Um,
looked awesome.
so a couple things. So I was watching a video on like that scene and like how it was portrayed in the books. So apparently, Aemon does that a lot. He has the patch when he's in court and in the thing, but whenever he fights, he takes off the patch because it's intimidating. Um, that's one thing.
100%.
Two, apparently, Lucerys had talked shit back or something like that, and then
You're
Aemon
a
got
one-eyed
even.
bitch, Aemon.
And apparently, in the books, which they didn't do this here, and if they did, it would have been phenomenal. But in the books, the wife that he was promised or like he was gonna marry start talking shit to Aemon. She was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, do you?" He's like, "He took one of your eyes. Did he also take your balls or some shit like
Oh
that?"
shit.
Like they started going at him, and that's what really pissed him off. And led to the led to him chasing him with the dragons. And as you see here, so what happens is he was about to start a fight, Aemond, and Baratheon was like, "No, not in my hall. I'm not spilling blood in my house, and we're not doing this to an what are they called? Envoy.
He's there in an envoy
Messengers or
Yeah,
capacity, which is
yeah.
just a
you
messenger, not a
don't kill the
warrior.
messenger."
Yeah,
Um, so what happens is Lucerys leaves on his dragon, and what I thought was interesting was the conversation he had with his dragon before he left, because we never saw this before. He was like, "Relax, Varix, like obey me, Varix,"
Hmm.
and like he was like talking to his dragon, and I was like, I thought that was interesting, and you find out later why he said that, and
Very
I
good
just
foreshadowing there. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, holy shit. And I was like, all right, so he leaves and then you start hearing Aemon laughing in the clouds,
Ugh.
like chasing him. And as you see on your screen right here, if you're not watching on YouTube, go check this out. But it's a still from the show where you see the size difference between Vagar and Varix, and it was one of the most amazing shots they did in this. Vagar is in the clouds, lightning strikes, he gets lit up his shadow, and you see like the difference between the sizes of the dragons. And wow, it's just amazing.
it's like
You
a
know,
private
we've
plane
seen this
compared to
shot.
a commercial jet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen this shot so many times with a camera pointing down at an ocean where
Yes.
you see like Godzilla or you see like the kaiju like in
Hmm.
Pacific Rim or something. And I love that this is flipping that on its head and you're looking up and you see this fucking beast in the
Yeah.
clouds. And it was and the tension before you see him. There was a solid like minute of
Yeah.
him just flying through the
And
storm.
you don't see the dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, "Oh god, it's coming in."
Yeah.
Like you're so scared for him.
And when they're fighting at a point, I was like, "Oh man, is he gonna get away with his like quickness?" You know,
Yeah, so he
and then
was
he
doing
burned
that.
the
This kid
Vagar in the
was not a
face.
bitch. He
No.
was like, "We're gonna get out of this. I like do
Yep.
your turn now." Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, he was very very brave.
He
And
was doing his shit, and then he understood that his dragon was smaller, faster, and can maneuver better,
yeah,
and that's why he put his dragon through what is that called, like a valley?
Airbender versus Firebender
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah, that valley in between
Hmm.
mountains or whatever. It was tight. Vagar couldn't go, so he had to go up. He went through, and then he almost escaped, but then his dragon was like, "Nah, I ain't a bitch." So he turned around and spit some hot fire at Vagar like his name was Dylon, right? And Vagar was like, "Who's this little fly? Like trying to come at me?" And then both of them were struggling to control their dragons. Their dragons at that point, they're like, "Nah, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want." Now this is dragon fighting territory,
Mhm.
and it's interesting also to see this because they mentioned this I think in the last episode. It's like we don't want to involve dragons. Like
Yeah.
that's not the best case scenario. Like involving the dragons is gonna be bad,
Let's
Yeah.
just
right?
say that
That means war.
the dragons, for anybody who catches this reference, they kind of had a dragon moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Oh
they're
wait,
both
is that a
like
boon?
pleading, like serve me.
For anybody who didn't understand that reference, go watch Boondocks.
Yes, I'm
yeah,
so
Um,
glad I got it. Beautiful, beautiful.
okay, so what happened was,
That's
so
exactly what happened.
Varric spits fire at Vagar's face, does nothing, and then
yeah,
he dips, and then Lucerys takes his dragon above the storm, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I think I got away," and then Vagar just
Yo,
pops out of the side, out of nowhere, and just fucking eats Varix and Lucerys. Like he literally chops them in like couple of
one
pieces.
chomp.
One
It's like he popped a
bite,
chicken
just
nugget in his mouth.
Yeah, like
one
it was
bite, chomp both
wild,
of them.
Dude,
and it
I
was
was like,
such a
please
crazy scene.
don't show
Yeah.
me the clear sky moment. Please don't show me the clear sky moment because it reminded me of I don't know if you guys have talked about the Matrix before. I know you hate the Matrix, Dan,
horrible.
but in the last Matrix they go out of the storm and up into this like beautiful like sunny clear sky for one moment before like descending into hell. So it is like the one clear sky moment where I'm like, now he's fucked, he's dead, and then he just comes in and gets that
Yeah.
bite. Oh my god.
Oh man,
And
that scene
chunks
was
just
just.
falling through the sky.
Oh,
Ugh.
it was such an amazing scene, such an amazing sequence. They did a great job with this. Like, you don't have to spend $750 million to make, something good like this. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love these sick burns on Rings of Power.
But
You could see Aemon like looking back, like, oh
His
shit, oh shit,
his
I
he's
fucked
like,
face.
I
up. Like
fucked
God.
up.
he
He's
fucked
like,
up
I fucked
bad.
up big.
I just love that, like the whole lead up to this, when he's in the king's court, at Baratheon Castle. Like
Yeah.
Aemon came off as such like menacing, overpowering threat. He's older than him. He's a better fighter than him.
Hmm.
He's like taller than him, scarier than him. And like once
That
this
where he didn't
dragon,
know.
yeah, but once these dragons like get to business, you just see that these
Yeah.
are just like two scared boys that are like strapped
Yep.
along for the ride, and they're
Yes.
like, "Oh
Yes.
God!" Like after he eats the boy, yeah, exactly. Aemon's face, he's like, "Fuck."
Yeah, because he was like he didn't want to kill him. He just wanted to
Yeah,
fuck with him and scare him like they fucked with him when he was a kid.
exactly.
And the funny thing is like neither of them could control their dragon, even though Aemon was older and tougher and can do all this shit. He still couldn't control Vagar better than Lucerys was controlling Varys,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was again a foreshadowing when Lucerys was like, "Obey me, Varys, like calm down, like obey me, let's fly," and
Yeah. He even
yeah,
told him
it
to
was
focus, and he didn't.
yeah. Yeah, no, he didn't focus. He was like, he tried to, he tried to do too much and he flew too close to the sun. But my God, that was an amazing sequence and an amazing scene. And this is what Eamon's face looked like at the end of that.
exactly.
He was like,
Oh
he
shit.
was like, fuck. He's like, I fucked up hard.
I want to go
He's like,
I
home.
just keep thinking of the first Scream movie where it's like not Bill but not Billy but Stu. Where it's like at the end where he's like, my parents are gonna be so mad at me. Like that's what I see right now.
yeah. Because it's like if the war hadn't like this is literally what's gonna start the war, right? Like
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Rhaenyra was like, "I'm a hold back, I'm a hold back, I'm a hold back."
yeah.
Now you took her kid, and it's
Like, you
just
ate
gonna
my
be,
son.
yeah.
Let's
You
talk
could,
about that
you
final
could,
shot.
yeah, that final shot where she turns
So,
around, you could see in her face, it's just like, nope,
What
it's
a
over.
beautiful
Let's
so
pull
shot.
out the
I
big
wanted.
guns.
I'm almost curious how Damon found out
I
that.
was thinking about that the whole time. I was like, how did they find out?
So I was listening to some other podcasts about this, and one of the takes that someone had was like, "Oh, I wonder if just Aemond came out publicly and told." And I'm like, where would he even find the time for that? Where would this be announced? I don't think that's what happened. My
Yeah.
personal read on this is that dragon chunks fell on King
It has to be
Baratheon's
it.
like house, and he was
Oh,
like,
okay.
"Oh shit!" And he was like, "All right, I need to make sure everyone knows I had nothing to do with this, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna tell."
that
Yeah.
Yeah,
makes the
like
most
because he's like,
sense.
yeah, I think the Baratheons told them, and it was also like you could tell they had been waiting for a while, and it was Jacaerys back
No,
by that point,
he
or
wasn't back
we
yet.
hadn't seen that
We
yet.
don't
So
Okay,
know.
in season 2, we're gonna see because there's gonna be. So I saw like Jacaerys is gonna have important interactions at the Starks. So
okay.
we're gonna be seeing that in season 2. Uh,
Her I just want to say this one thing I like read about the final shot of the series when the camera is behind both Damon
yeah, when
and
he's telling
Rhaenyra.
her.
Yeah, and he's like kind of walking toward her in slow motion, and for such a long time you only see her back. You can only like imagine what she's like processing right now, and you even see her head kind of like it tilts, like this kind of
Yeah,
like pain and like anguish in her, and like rage is like coming out. And she turns. You were talking about dragon moments, like now her dragon moment is like
Yeah,
coming out. She had all this restraint, and now like that face that she gives the camera is like, wait for
yeah,
season two, Mitch.
yeah.
And the thing I read was that that whole sequence and the way it was choreographed was actually Matt, what's his name, Matt Smith's
Oh,
recommendation while they were
really.
oh,
filming. He goes, "What? Yeah." He
Amon,
goes,
Damon.
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 Yeah,
Yeah,
Damon's like, "What if we film this from behind and come up in slow motion on it?" And he apparently they also credit this was the writers themselves giving him credit for that. They also gave him credit for coming up with the picking up the crown for Viserys.
Hmm.
and helping him up the steps. I was like, this
Oh, that's
dude
cool.
knows
Yeah.
what the fuck he's doing. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he's making
I'll give you
Damon
that,
like
man.
even cooler. Yeah,
Well,
that's also
Dexter's
true.
New Blood. If you guys want to check out, we did that a long time ago. Where we did reviews on it. Jennifer Carpenter suggested like this one scene where she was talking to Dexter, and it was just like, oh yeah, what if I was holding his hand while he was dying and stuff like that? And like that wasn't part of the script. She was just like, this makes the most sense, and then she lets go. It was like a
Hmm.
whole thing. It was like a lot of times the actors do have solid
They
input
get
into it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they get
You
like they
know
have to live as these characters for a bit. They're
exactly.
gonna
So they
kind of
know what the
understand.
character would do in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I forgot to mention was when Damon was singing to King Jaehaerys's dragon. Um, so Damon had mentioned there was other dragons in
Still out there in the wild.
Dragon Mount. No, I think they live like the dragons just live in that like
And
the
they're
Dragon
unclaimed,
Keep.
right?
Yeah, they're
That's what
unclaimed.
I
They don't
meant to
have
say. Sorry.
riders. And he this dragon apparently was like also big and like ferocious and stuff like that. And
It's
yeah, so he went.
terrifying.
Yeah,
I
it was
forgot the name.
amazing.
It starts with a V. It's like
Victor.
uh
Vince.
that'll be hilarious.
Vin
It's
Diesel.
like Vermuroth or something like that. Vermuroth or it's crazy
You're
like
trying to
that.
say
But
vermouth, but okay.
um and that scene was really cool the way he was singing. It's just like Damon, you think he looks scared, but he doesn't. Like it's so weird how he does that, and it's like really interesting. When he was talking to Dragon, he's just like kind of going down, but like staring it right in its eye.
It's amazing how mysterious your emotions are when you
Yeah.
shave your eyebrows off.
So true. So true. That
It's
got me
very
the whole
distracting.
season. I
It's
was
very
just like,
distracting. As I'm watching, I was like, "This man really just doesn't have eyebrows."
Yeah.
Like that would
You're
that
like,
would be a
what?
recurring
What is
thought
he
throughout the
thinking? I
show.
don't know. I can't
Dude,
read his eyes.
I didn't even notice that.
Really?
I was just like, damn, he
Man,
looks
straight up
really
just
good.
doesn't have eyebrows.
If you
I
gave
was
him
like,
eyebrows, it'd be like, oh yeah, no, I get his character.
Like,
It's fine.
oh, okay, so he's not scared.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that makes so much sense. Why he could give those looks and they look the way they did.
Surprised
No
you didn't
eyebrows.
see
God
that.
damn.
Like,
Yeah.
He pulled a
100%.
cane. God
secret
damn.
weapon.
Holy shit.
maybe he'll
I have a
be mayor of
question
Knox
about.
County, Tennessee next.
Yeah.
I wonder what you guys thought of his one moment in the war room with Rhaenyra when he
Mm.
just suddenly choked her. What is
Oh
you
yes, I
guys'
wanted to bring that up.
what's your read on that?
That was an interesting moment because I want to see how Rhaenyra acts with that in in the new season. How Rhaenyra's gonna um
I mean, I feel like she like nipped it in the butt right there. Like she belittled him like with a sentence. Like it was kind of like she was like, you don't even know. Like
oh yeah, yeah,
you
because
know,
of
like
the yeah.
she's like, oh my god, like you don't even like he didn't even tell you.
Yeah.
But I was shocked that he like went for her throat like that because so
Yeah.
this is just to give it context. She's like I'm not gonna go to like first he showed that he was upset that she's not
Yeah.
being more aggressive, and then she's like clear the room, and then it's just her and him, and she's like I'm not doing this for my own personal gain or for my own bloodlust. Like I have a people and a land to protect. Like and she's
From the
like for the
north, yeah.
yeah, and she's like for a dream. Yeah, you like you know the dream and like the war that's coming. And I think that's right when he grabbed her and he said something along the lines of like, dreams don't win wars like dragons do. And my read on that, I guess, because I'm still a little confused on it, I'm like, maybe he's noticing that kind of dream speak and that kind of idealistic speak of Viserys that made him so angry with
Hmm.
Viserys because he was such a passive king,
Yeah.
and he wants to be true Targaryen, and he's like, I'm not going to let Rhaenyra also speak this way, and so
Yeah.
like it's this kind of like anger like at her like that you're speaking this way.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny. I guess if he knew that it was the dream of Aegon the Conqueror, the one that he dreamt this prophecy, that it would be different. But yeah,
yeah, but he wasn't told.
yeah, no, he wasn't. And there was yeah,
Well, yeah,
there's
she's gonna
like
have to get him for that because like you don't do that shit with Rhaenyra now.
yeah, yeah. So that's what
I'm
I'm saying. I want to see
yeah,
her reaction to it in the second season.
yeah,
But
me too, me too.
let's wrap this review up for House of the Dragon. I think we've said it all. I think we've said how much we've all like enjoyed this prequel series, and you know, this is how you stay true to the writing. This is, and if you make changes, you make it for the better, and you do it out of the love for the like the source material, and you can create a show and a prequel such as this. Now, Dan has said many times we don't need prequels. Like you don't need it, right? And this is and after watching The Rings of Power, I've understood Dan's sentiment because when a prequel isn't done right, it does feel like that. Like with this prequel, it's like we didn't need it, but I'm glad we got it. I'm so happy we got it. With the Rings of Power, it's like fuck, man, this could have been so good, and damn, they just dropped the ball hard. They really did, and it was very disappointing. But let's jump into the Rings of Power. What do you guys think? I guess I already said what I thought. The show wasn't that great for me. There was a lot of disappointing moments. Maybe the second season. Now they planned 5 seasons for this show already. Maybe the second seasons will pick up and it'll be much better, learning from their mistakes here. But for a show to have spent $750 million, which is like 3 times the budget probably of, like, I think the Avengers movie.
I don't
Um,
even know.
right? Because I
But
think the
it's one of the
Avengers they spent like
craziest.
300 million, right? Mostly that's how much they spend on these movies, but um, like they spent $750 million on 8 hours of content that
Mhm.
were not that great. And don't get me wrong, the visuals and this and like they did a lot of practical effects. Like they didn't do much CGI, and with the CGI that they did do, they used this new technology, which made everything look better. But at the end of the day, the story wasn't there, and that's what we go for. It's the mythology, it's the story. So that's me. Dan,
For
since you saw it, why don't you give us
I
your thoughts?
I man, like you said, with the amount of resources they had, it was just such a mediocre show. Like majority of the story arcs and the main characters are just flat. Like I didn't really care, and I honestly throughout the whole season, I really didn't care. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't until like the last episode when I was like, okay, maybe I see some potential here. So I honestly I feel like they should have just started at the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Rusty, why don't you give us your thoughts on what you've seen?
Yeah, so just to like preface this, I wanted to give it a fair shot. I was excited at first to see what they did with that kind of
Hmm.
money, and the shots look cool in the trailers and stuff. I ended up making it, I want to say 2.5 episodes, right around like middle of episode 3. I was like, no, this isn't going to get better. And um, yeah, I really, for me, it comes down to more than you were saying. What made House of the Dragon so good was like the writers being so dedicated to the story and the source material. More than that, honestly, it's like they're dedicated to these characters, right?
Hmm.
They're so dedicated to these characters and their motivations and their actions, and like that's what's carrying it more than anything. And Lord of the Rings has all the source material you could want,
Hmm.
but probably like more than even Game of Thrones, and that source material doesn't do shit if you don't have characters that you're invested in and you're like bringing to the screen in a beautiful way that like we can get emotionally attached to. And I wanted to, and they for me they didn't accomplish that. And then even further than that, I've seen like even the people who criticize the storytelling of the show, they have nothing but like praise for the visuals of the show. I think
Hmm.
I'm even harsher. um I see the money on screen, but I don't see beauty on screen. I think it's easy to like go crazy with like you have amazing camera lenses, you have amazing like widescreen vistas and shots and CG, but I don't think the art style is there. I don't think the art direction is there. So it's not like I'm getting hit in the head with like saturated, beautiful shots, but I don't even they're not memorable and they're not impactful to me the way the visuals from House of the Dragon was. So I think both like storytelling and visuals, it just fell short compared to House of the Dragon for sure.
Hmm.
There's just like no passion or depth. There's just
Hmm.
like stuff happening on screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Um,
money. It's money being thrown at the screen,
Yeah,
but no,
yeah,
yeah.
no,
pretty
no
much.
passion. Yeah.
Dan, uh, let us know
Yeah.
what you think.
Eslam, give me the one. Give me the big screen.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Are you about to shit on the Matrix again?
I'm I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I have the special extended edition DVDs that's like literally half a day. It's like 12 hours. I was even okay with The Hobbit. I enjoyed The Hobbit. I've rewatched all these things multiple times, and my God, when I say they just dropped the ball. I mean, Rings of Power was just so not interesting. I've never seen anything more not interesting. You know, it's like when you go to a dentist's office and you have to wait, and you're like, "Let me look at these magazines," but you don't want to. You just sit there in silence. You stare at the wall, wait for somebody to drill into your teeth. I'd rather do that than watch this goddamn show.
Oof.
I want to just mention
Yo,
that
shit.
I think that Atlanta season 4 is such a great show. It's not quite as good as season 3, but it is still very entertaining. I like it. Donald Glover, Stephen Glover, they've done a great job, and I recommend everybody watch that instead of this goddamn, trash fire, wherever the fuck
Good
this was.
shit. I gotta get on that
So
show.
there you go.
Always heard good things about Atlanta.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I like that he
I
takes
always
his
love your
time
rants, bro.
to.
I love your
Yeah,
rants.
I like that you
But
dedicate
with
the rest of your time to a show that deserves it. I
Yeah,
appreciate.
absolutely. I refuse to speak more on the show. I'm sorry.
with that said, man,
Oh, also, I didn't
I hope
finish the season.
Nice.
I really hope they can turn it around. And going off of what Rusty said, I think you're 100% right about the characters, and it's not for the lack of the characters; it's for the lack of the writing for the characters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they didn't put like these characters are definitely worth my time, like Elrond, Galadriel, um, maybe some of the other humans and elves as well. They can definitely be some of the most interesting characters because we got to see glimpses of them in Lord of the Rings,
We know
and
how amazing Elrond is, right?
my
Like,
God, but like I would have loved to seen Elrond's growth to that super wise um Elrond that we
mhm.
see in Lord of the Rings, right? I want to see Galadriel's growth. I want to see why Galadriel can fucking turn kind of evil
I'm
and
sorry, you're
like
pronouncing it wrong. It's Galadriel.
okay. Yeah. All right. That's cool, bro.
They never
Listen,
shut up about
every time I'm
that.
about to say it, you can say that cuz I don't think I can do it.
That's a bit that you have to commit to, Rusty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's like every time I'm trying to say her name, you got to say it.
Say what name? I'm
I
sorry,
j-
Eslam. Can you go
Well,
for
yeah.
it?
What?
Galadriel.
yeah.
Galadriel.
Yeah. So I think like these characters also I think this season shouldn't have been what it was. To me, I think it would have been better because they kind of kind of brushed over Morgoth real quick in the first episode. Like this whole season should have could have been like just them like the end fight with Morgoth. Like they could have been just fighting Morgoth, killed him, and then kind of like shit. Like where the hell did Sauron go? You know what I mean? And then you start the next season with like maybe a little bit of Search of Sauron. They got the rings, and then you keep going. But like this whole, there was so much shit that wasn't needed to be in there. Or if it was needed to be in there, my God, you guys did it wrong. So I would have
Man.
loved to see more of Morgoth. It's not like you're gonna make this prequel and then like 10 years later we're gonna have another prequel just so we can see Morgoth. Like this was the time to do it. So
Man.
And from what I read,
Everything
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say everything worth happening happened at the last episode. Like I want to see more of Elrond and Durin
yeah,
finding more of that mithril and the way they open, they like awaken that fire demon. I'm waiting for that to like blow up in the next season. See where that goes.
Is
I
it the
liked what
Balrog?
they.
they
It's
awoke
a
a
Not, it's not.
Balrog.
Balrog.
It's not Balrog. It's like a fire
Oh, okay.
demon thing.
When
Okay.
did they do this? I don't remember this.
You remember like they were digging the hole and then the king came out and stopped them, and
Hmm.
then the king like threw a little paper and it flew into the crack and it flew all the way down. There was a fire demon that like woke up at the end of that episode.
Oh, I did not even notice that. I'll
No,
have to go
yeah,
back and watch
no,
that.
yeah,
But
watch that shit.
I
So
thought I
in
thought I
the,
read it was
that
Balrog.
had
Maybe it's
that it was at the end of
Would make sense
the
that it's
second
Balrog.
the second to
I
last
think it is because there
episode.
was an episode where they explained how Balrog and this other elf fought, and that's how the Mithril was created, like the light, like yeah. But
And I love that the last episode they actually got into like who's Sauron, you know, they
yeah,
finally were digging into that like the main like story arc, and like they kind of like misled us with I think his name was Ishtar, the
no.
stranger.
So let me explain what happened. So the three like witches or whatever, the ones that were wearing white, they were looking for Sauron, and they find the stranger, and they're like, "Oh, it's you. You're Sauron." And then they start like fighting. He's resisting, whatever. Then the Harfoots come in. They help him, and then and then they like he takes one of their staffs and he's like, no, I'm good. And then he kind of banishes them. When he banishes them back to the dark, they kind of go into this like you get to see their true form, which was similar to what the wraiths or what I forgot what they're called. The
Hmm. I
The
uh,
think
ring
that's
wraiths.
right.
huh?
The ring wraiths. Yeah.
Yeah, the ring wraiths. What they look like when Frodo puts on the ring, like they're
Hmm.
white and skeletons. So that's what
Yeah.
they look like. And then so now I think everybody's like, oh, um, that is Gandalf, but we don't get a confirmation. So what happens is they called him an Ishtar or Isatar or whatever how you pronounced it.
That's a racial
That
slur.
doesn't, huh?
Nothing. I said that sounds like a racial slur.
What that is the type of being he is, right? Like the angel of that world, right? The wizards. But we don't get a confirmation that he is Gandalf the Grey, right? I think that's a misleading, and I did see a video and like what they were talking about is like they think he's one of the blues, and because
What are blues?
There's
so
these. Yeah. That's something you got
yeah,
it.
go ahead, Dan. You know this better.
So there's a couple of like different wizards. Like we know about Gandalf the Grey, Saruman the White, Radagast the Brown, and then there's the two blues. There's two other wizards out there that are blues. We just don't know nothing about them. They're honestly, I think J.R.R. Tolkien like passed away before really diving into it. So we just know that they exist. We don't know anything about them though.
Okay. What about the
S-
fact that he said the same line that Gandalf says in one of the movies?
which one?
Um,
Bella.
I
Was
think it
that
was. I think it was like always follow your nose, something like that.
Hmm.
It's a
It could
line.
be, and I think they could be using these things to mislead people just so they can keep them watching.
Yeah, for
Um,
me, what it comes down to, like what you guys are talking about with like, oh, maybe he's Gandalf, maybe this one's Sauron, maybe that one's Sauron. Like, I kind of kept up the tabs on the episodes week after week, just reading articles about it or like people's reactions to it. And I just saw that like the main discussion revolving around this show was like, who is who? Like
yeah.
everyone's just excited to see like,
Yeah.
this character
So
from the
so
movies? Like,
spoilers.
Oh yeah.
We find out who Sauron is at the end, right? Sauron was since Sauron we know of is a shapeshifter, he is Halbrand. The character Halbrand, he reveals
yeah,
himself as Sauron.
was that the one that was on the boat with Galadriel?
mhm.
Yes.
Fucking
Yeah, that
Galadriel.
saved her after she jumped
Yeah.
off the boat.
I'm an American and we say Galadriel.
She
Galadriel.
says Galadriel. She's an
uh,
American too, but I guess she says
so
Galadriel.
yeah. So
But yeah, I like in that last episode, like I originally was saying, how they like misled us and to be like, oh, he's Sauron, and then you're kind of thinking like, wait, so who is Sauron? And like I don't know, I was just like, is it this guy? Is this guy? And then at the end, they really showed who was Sauron. I was like, oh, and like I was actually entertained on that last
Okay.
episode, but like the rest of the season, I was just like, terrible.
yeah. So that's pretty much it. Sauron is Halbrand. He's a shapeshifter, and we don't know if that is either Gandalf the Grey or it will be one of the blue wizards.
It's Billy the
Um,
Blue.
so
Can't
there
wait to
was
see it.
another
It's
thing why
it's
they
it's a
think
brown.
it's the one of the blue wizards is because he was going towards the east and like some for some reason Gandalf said he doesn't go to the east or
You
something
don't
like
fuck
that.
with the east side.
Yeah, you don't fuck with the east side.
No, if
You
I had
can't
to
wear
put money on
those
it,
Gang
colors over there.
gang shit.
if
Yeah,
I
the
had to put
blues. You know
money
what I'm
on it,
saying?
it's
Exactly.
going to be Gandalf because they want those big names to register with their
Yeah,
audience, and they think people are going to watch. If it's Gandalf, people will get
100%.
excited, and that's it.
Yeah. So they're still keeping it a mystery of like who this is, and they kind of almost did like a two reveals, is because like the sisters came and they're like you're Sauron, but they put like a spell on you and you forget, and will help you remember, and you're like oh shit okay, and then at the end of that little sequence you're like no he's good and banishes them blah blah blah, and you're like okay so maybe he is actually Gandalf. And then you get to see, and then you go back and you see that Halbrand is Sauron. He actually says it to uh, Rusty.
Yeah.
Says it to
Oh,
Rusty.
Galadriel.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Galadriel.
It just goes over to Rusty. Hey, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so that happened, and I
Can
don't
we just
know.
talk about how Galadriel is the original Karen of all time.
Yeah,
She
pretty
has
much.
the most Karen energy on
Speaking of
screen.
strong female characters, House of Dragons, Rhaenyra, Rhaenys, Alicent, like all strong
Everyone.
female
They would all
characters,
slap the
amazing.
shit out of
And then
Galadriel.
you have Galadriel, but the shit that drives me crazy is like in the first episode where like she has like all these elite warriors with her, and then like she's the one had to take down that ogre single handedly by herself instead of just,
It's,
it's just so
it's an
weird.
action scene. It didn't look good. It looked like
Yeah,
CGI and a
yeah.
person standing there and doing like a little spin. I don't know. It was just
It was what it was, but like why portrayed that way? I understand you can have strong female characters. They don't have to be the strongest fighter. You can show their strength in other ways.
Yeah.
Like she could have been like this, the best there is because of her wit, her strategic mind, her knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can kill him by doing this, this, and that, and like she starts barking orders, and like they get into formation and properly take this shit down. That would have been a way more badass scene than the fucking little twirl that she did.
very
Like
bad.
she's
know what I
already
mean?
established in Lord of the Rings as like
Yeah.
one of the most like wisest like badass. Like she's so mysterious. It's like, oh, she must be this epic person. So when you find out Rings of Power, oh, she's one of the main characters. I can't wait to see what she's gonna do. And there she is. She's doing a little twirl. Her team turns their back. I was like, listen, we don't want to go anymore. She's like, please.
You
They're like,
crazy
no. She's
bitch.
like, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like,
really?
you
Like,
crazy.
this is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then she goes back with them. She doesn't even continue
Yeah.
her quest. She's just
Exactly.
like,
At first,
straight
I was
up
like,
just
oh, so
gives
she's gonna be
up,
by
like-
herself. Nope. She's
She
just
was like,
running
fuck
around.
it.
It's like, I'm trying
Alright.
to find this graffiti artist who's putting the symbol everywhere. That's all she's doing.
Can we talk about the absolutely ridiculous way that these elves choose to travel in boats?
What do you mean? What are they gonna travel?
Just standing there for
Just
like
standing perfectly.
12
Oh,
hours.
right,
What's
right,
their
right,
point
right.
of Valinor?
Uh,
Valinor?
Okay, I was like, what do you? How else are
Oh,
they gonna travel?
they showed it for
Yeah.
it for like a solid minute. It cuts to somewhere else in the episode. They come back. They're still just waiting.
They're like,
to
the
get
camera's
there.
coming back. Get in formation. Get in formation.
You see one of them's just like struggling. He's just like, I wore the wrong shoes today.
It's just silly shit. None of it feels like authentic.
Some of the dialogue was really stupid too.
Yeah.
like after the first episode came out, like I saw nothing but memes making fun of what her brother told her.
Oh, the sun and the light and the ups
Yeah.
and waters and downs. Shut up.
Yeah, that
please.
shit was so stupid. Yeah.
So I only made it like 4.5, maybe 5 episodes in, to be honest. And they kept coming back to that one kid who kept going into the barn, grabbing that sword with Sauron's mark on it. And every goddamn time I forgot this kid existed.
What a
Every
face on
single
that
time.
kid.
And it's always the same scene. It's always him going back into the barn and grabbing the sword for 5 episodes. He would go to the
That,
same
that
barn.
face,
grab
that
the
face and that
same
bowl
sword.
cut was rough to look at, dude. Very
The whole
rough.
time I was just like, are they trying to make him into like Boba Fett? Like, is he
Oh,
supposed to be
can I
him?
show
Like,
you guys something?
Definitely.
I'm gonna
has
show
that
you
vibe.
this ridiculous photo shoot they did.
Oh God.
Where is it?
Another
Where
word
is
for
it?
ring wraith is Nazgul, by the way.
Yep. That's good.
Damn.
You're a Nazgul.
I'm a fan of the series, just not this fucking show.
Ugh.
Actually, I like Durin. Speaking of him, just
Oh
for
yeah,
him.
no, I'm not trying to show Durin. 1 second.
I like Durin as like a Disney Plus show character.
Oh yeah, okay. Look. Look at this fucking nonsense they did.
Are these the actors with their characters?
Yeah, they're like
Oh, it's like their fall fashion catalog.
Yeah.
yeah, bro, look at
Oh
this
my
shit.
god.
Wait until you see this one.
Bro, what?
Yeah.
What's
Son,
Eric doing
yo.
up there?
That looks like Dennis from Always Sunny.
Wait,
Oh
there's
my
more,
God.
there's more. Hold on.
Yo, if you
Oh.
guys are not watching the YouTube version or watching us live on
Look at
Twitch,
this.
you are missing out.
Yo, I saw this and I was like, I have to share this on the podcast.
What's
My
this shitty
God.
couch?
Does anybody else see Neil Patrick Harris when they look at Elrond?
Yes. Oh, sick New Balances.
I
on
didn't even
that.
think about that. Yeah,
He does kind of look like him, yeah. Yeah.
this
look at
dude really is rocking New Balances in the forest.
Look at
It's
this.
just his all terrain.
Oh, this
Bro,
is so
what
stupid.
is happening?
Ooh,
Oh, that's right. Hey,
that's
before
the
we
kid.
forget, Isildur is a bitch. I just wanna point that out.
100%. See, like that. I think that's the episode where I fell off. Like they mentioned Isildur's name, and I'm like, oh, I know him.
I was
They're
like,
gonna do
oh
something
my
cool
god,
with
a
him.
seal door? Fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
And then he's
and
like, I don't want to
nothing.
be on a boat. I'm like, fuck this show, I'm done.
Yo, look at this guy's suit. Like it's just it boggles my mind, man. Like the color, like everything that's happening in these
Yo,
photos is just
the
like
amount
Who
of
okayed this?
advertising that this show pushed out. I don't know if you guys noticed, like the Amazon packages I was ordering
yep,
had Rings of Power all over it.
yep.
I'm sure you guys have seen some of that. The craziest thing, I use Adobe Creative Cloud every day for work. Do you guys
Uh-huh.
use Adobe regularly?
No. Look at this
That's
shit.
love.
You
Hang on. Scroll down.
st-
Don't show his face.
what?
Tell me that's not the fucking Riddler.
Yeah. They
Bro,
updated
this
Adobe
was too funny.
Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and the starting window when you open those programs is all the characters from the fucking Rings of Power. I didn't ask
Wow.
for that. Don't put this shit on my screen for like a
Yeah,
month. I had to look at that. It was insane. You know
it's
they had to
wild.
pay so much money. That's like Adobe. You have to get them to like do your show. They just flaunting their money everywhere. Very annoying.
100%.
I didn't know.
But that's it for our reviews for the Battle of the Prequels. We obviously know who won the Battle of the Prequels.
Wasn't even a contest.
It's not even a contest like Dan said. So, let's jump into some news, guys.
So, welcome everyone to a podcast within a podcast. We're gonna do some Powerbomb Weekly. We're gonna talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling news and rumors.
Yes, sir.
So, Eslam, whenever you're ready, I'll take that first story so I can talk on it. Warner Brothers Discovery wants long-term deal with AEW. So I've talked about this a little bit, where Warner Brothers Discovery saw AEW and were like, "Hey, they're doing a lot of good stuff. They're getting a lot of views. We're trying to see if we can get them to do more for us." That's where a lot of views are coming in, because the movies are lacking apparently. So AEW is something that's bringing in viewers. Now, what they're doing is, I was reading in the same article right here, which let me get the name real quick. This was Wrestle Talk, written by True Heel SP3. In this same exact article, they talk a little bit about how they're going to try to present TNT as more of a sports centric channel, and they're going to try to make AEW fit more into the sports category as opposed to an entertainment category, which is makes a lot of sense when you look at something like WWE, which is portrayed as sports entertainment. AEW tries to distance themselves. They don't call themselves sports entertainers; they are wrestlers, and
Mhm.
they try to view wrestling as a sport, even though we know the ins and outs of what's going on for the most part. So it is looking like it's something that they really want to do, and they want to try to have like a very good standing with AEW. It looks like the previous deal that Warner Brothers had with AEW was very one-sided, and it only benefited AEW. It didn't really benefit Warner. So now it looks like Warner Brothers Discovery is like, all right, let's see if we can find something that's more on even ground, and we can utilize AEW to grow ourselves as well. So it's good to see that they see AEW in that light, especially since it's still a fairly new company. But hopefully, Eslam, if you want to move to the next one, hopefully we get to see AEW new shows and stuff come about, and to get a little bit more sponsoring from Warner Brothers. That'd be great. Now that's the first story. Now this is just the main story. This is the rest of what I'm going to be talking about. So a little while ago, I talked about how there was a backstage fight, a real fight, at the end of the All Out pay per view between CM Punk, and the Elite, and a few other various people. So this article, it's a little bit old. Also by Wrestle Talk, written by Andy Dotson. Andy Datson. Um, Looks like AEW is trying not to bring back CM Punk. CM Punk, he said some stuff after the press conference where he went ahead and he shitted on the entire Elite, who are the executive vice presidents, being Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. He talked shit about Hangman Adam Page, who's one of the biggest fan favorites in the company. He just kind of just talked shit about people in general, which sucks because CM Punk, phenomenal wrestler, beloved by the fans. He was gone from wrestling. He came back. It was one of the most monumental moments in all of pro wrestling history. So him doing all that stuff, starting a fight, everybody involved gets suspended. Ace Steel, I believe that was his name, gets fired, who was on the side of CM Punk, who went ahead and pulled Kenny Omega's hair and bit him. And now you have looking like Punk is in rumors are he's not supposed to be coming back. That's let me move to the next one. Supposedly, Tony Khan is willing to buy out CM Punk's contract just so he doesn't come back and they don't have to deal with the quote unquote headache that is CM Punk at this point. Which sucks because CM Punk's one of my all-time favorites. Anybody who knows me knows I've always been a fan of CM Punk. So here's another article where we talk a little bit more on this, written by Connell Rumsey, also on Wrestle Talk, where apparently it's not just Tony Khan and stuff like that. It looks like a lot of the wrestlers and everybody, they're kind of just like, you know what, we're good. We don't want Punk back. Which sucks, man, because Punk has only been back for a year, literally 1 year, and he's had one of the best 1 year runs I've ever seen. From his comeback to winning the title to dropping it, and all the matches he's had in between, the feuds with MJF, just he's been on fire. Like that has to be one of the best like single year performances I've ever seen in wrestling, and he's doing it after being retired for what 7 years, and he's like he hasn't done it in a while. He had to get back into like the groove of things, and he killed it, man. Like he did an amazing job, but it's looking like a lot of people are just like, you know what, man, I don't want to have to deal with this no more. It's just too much bad blood. There's been a lot of backstage politicking and a lot of stuff it sucks because you see AEW before was such a happy place, and then sadly around the time Punk came in, things have kind of just dwindled in terms of you know not rapport, but just like standing and stuff. That's not if you want to move to the next one as well. So hopefully they try to figure something out. It sucks if Punk goes, but I mean, if it's for the better of AEW and that's what Tony Khan wants, of course he's the one who's gonna go ahead and make that decision. As long as you got the next one ready.
Isn't this it, or
No.
you want this one?
Oh, this is the next one. My bad. I didn't realize it. It's the same picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it was. So yeah, this one's written by Laura Cood or Cutie. I'm sorry if I don't say her name correctly. So it looks like we're pretty much at the point where it's like it's looking like this is going to be settled. There isn't going to be a CM Punk anymore. It looks like things are going to be wrapped up. We still don't know officially. We will find out in the near future if Punk is going to be back or not. But as of right now, it looks like this is all going to be wrapped up, the investigation at least, and it all seems like CM Punk ain't going to be coming back. There were rumors that he'd go back to WWE. With that being
I was just
said,
about to ask that. Do you think
Yeah,
he moves to WWE now?
so he had a lot of issues with WWE, and he didn't want to be there. Now that was a lot of people, and then Vince McMahon had his issues, and now Triple H is in charge, right? So everyone's like, okay, would Punk want to be back? The interesting thing about Punk is he had more issues with Triple H than he ever did with Vince. So now that Triple H is running the show, I don't know if Triple H would want Punk. I don't know if there's other wrestlers that would want Punk, or if Punk would even want to go back to that company. He might have a bad taste in his mouth still because of that. But famously, Triple H did once say on TV, it's like, you like to go out here and run your mouth and you try to do all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you're backstage trying to stab people in the back. You're doing all these backstage politics. People don't really know the truth, and people keep on bringing this up nowadays, years later, where they're like, "Shit, was Triple H telling the truth?" We don't know, of course.
That's interesting.
And
Okay.
Eslam, if you want to just do the last one there,
This is the last one.
there should be one more after this.
This is the fifth one.
All
There
right.
was this one. Oh, is this the same one?
Now, there's one more with a different picture.
Sorry, 1 second.
You're all
I
good.
must have done
So-
the same one.
That's all good. So with this one, with this being said, with everything going on with Punk, he did recently say something on Twitter. So we're just like, oh my god, okay, is it happening? He has something to say. He broke the media silence. And with that being said, Punk goes ahead and he tweets. First of all, this is written by Connell Rumsey from Wrestle Talk. He tweets about There we go. There's a show that's coming out that's written by his wife, AJ Lee, formerly known as what was her name? AJ. No,
AJ
AJ Lee
Styles?
was a wrestling name.
Actually,
AJ Styles is a guy. No, AJ
Whatever.
Mendez is her real name. AJ Lee is a wrestling name. So that's his wife, and it's just like everybody's like, "Oh my God, Punk's gonna say something. What's he gonna say?" And he's just like, "Yeah, check out this show my wife wrote on." So there's a new show that's coming out called Blade of the 47 Ronin, written by Amy Garcia and AJ
Interesting.
Mendez. And she's known for doing a lot of writing. AJ Mendez, formerly known as AJ Lee in wrestling, is actually supposed to be like a really good writer. So it seems
Cool.
cool.
I think that just came out on Netflix. I
Yeah,
saw
just
something
just
about
yeah, it just came out on
47.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's written
Nice,
by her.
nice.
But yeah, that's what Punk has to say about the issue. So that's all I got for Wrestle. What the hell is my show called? Powerbomb Weekly.
Powerbomb Weekly. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to say that. But yeah, so that's what it is. Well, I'll let you guys know going forward with what's going to go on with Punk, but it's looking like this is where we're at.
All right, let's jump into some entertainment news. All right, so House of the Dragon season 2 will begin filming early 2023 with the season projected to drop at 2024. So it's going to be another year and some months before we see season 2 of Game of Thrones. Which, you know what? Take your time, write it out, get it good and ready, and we'll wait as long as it's fucking phenomenal. And I'm sure it will be. Next up, Henry Cavill says he is back at Superman. Henry Cavill confirmed after the post credit scene at Black Adam that he is coming back as Superman for the DCEU, which is fucking phenomenal news. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman for our generation. It's been awesome having him, and I can't wait to see uh, what's next. Hopefully, we'll get to see a Man of Steel soon enough.
I want to say something real quick.
Man of Steel 2, yeah.
If we can go back in the archives and see how many episodes you don't talk about Henry Cavill, I'd like to do that.
I don't talk about Henry Cavill?
Yeah, because you.
It's a
literally
lot
mentioned
more
him
than I
in-
do.
I don't know.
No, it's
Disco, do
definitely
you
a
remember the
lot
last time we did an episode where he's not talking about Henry Cavill?
It's been a while. He stopped. He
Did
slowed
he
down.
really?
Hell,
I
But
guarantee
they
you go to last
confirmed-
week's episode, he's talking about it. And the
There
week
was
Well, yeah,
a
because there was
big-
news last week.
There was
yeah.
a big stretch where every week it was like had Henry Cavill's John in his mouth.
Just
like,
always.
"Ah."
Well, he's
I
a
will
fucking
never take
sexy
Henry
man,
Cavill
bro.
out of
Like
his
I
mouth.
gotta say that he's a good-looking dude.
He's got a
shout out
nice
to
jaw
Cavill.
Haven't they
structure.
also confirmed they're working on Man of Steel 2?
They have, but there's rumors that there was a script already written, and like the producer for that work with Zack Snyder's coming back for it and things like that. But nothing is set in stone. Since Warner Brother Discovery hasn't like confirmed it yet themselves, it's still up in the air. But it's definitely moving in the right direction, so I'm excited for it.
Hmm.
Next up, James Gunn and Peter Safran to lead DC Studios as co-CEOs. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned there were in talks with someone else to become the head of DC Studios, and the talks fell through. They couldn't come to a deal, and now it looks like these two will be taking over as the DC Studios CEOs and moving in the future, guiding the DCEU to
Didn't we
hopefully
talk
a
about
better
this
place.
potentially happening?
I think we did. I think
was
we
just
did
like,
talk about
it was
James
like
Gunn saying
literally
it.
like I think it was Peacemaker come out and we were
Yeah.
talking about it. It's just like he did such a good job with Peacemaker. He did such a good job with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And then we said like, what if potentially they were just like, hey, let's just have James Gunn kind of run everything. We're like, oh, they were like, yeah, but it'd be interesting. Months later, here
So-
we go.
yeah.
Can I ask you DC fans a question
Yeah. What's
about
up?
this? You guys aren't afraid that under his direction he'll just turn DC into Marvel, tone wise?
Well, do you think? Have you seen the Peacemaker?
Yeah, I saw only maybe I think 2 or 3 episodes of Peacemaker, and
Mhm.
I watched Suicide Squad.
So, do you think Peacemaker has the tone of Marvel?
Or Suicide
Yes.
Squad? Because it definitely
Yes,
doesn't
but
to me.
It
100%.
doesn't to us. No.
I
Not
don't
at
feel
all,
like
dude.
it at all.
Nah.
What do
It's
you
way-
what do you
These
call
are
it?
good.
What do you call it?
Well, first of all, these shows might be a little lighthearted, but they're still super dark.
Yeah.
Like nothing like Marvel does.
Okay, but
they're still
Suicide
fun.
Squad. I know more about Suicide Squad. There was nothing dark about that.
I mean,
All the slave people
like,
that
literally-
were
first off,
Starro,
Suicide's in the
like the
name.
The
murders.
slave
But-
people that had starfishes on their face? That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
dude, yeah, it's supposed to be funny, but
Okay.
still, it's just like everybody's getting murdered because
Still
it's
pretty fucking dark. Like
it's
the
dark
the
and it's
experiments
okay.
that the guy
tone.
was doing on
Okay,
them.
so it's Marvel and blood.
no. The most similar thing that this is to Marvel now is Deadpool. That's the most
Yeah.
similar, which isn't really MCU. Which
But-
is
Listen,
gonna
I mean,
be.
if
Deadpool is also exactly what I just said. Marvel plus blood.
I think, listen,
it's
I think
more.
it's fine if you think that's what he's
It's
doing.
It's just is
That's-
it not just
listen,
an
listen,
edgier?
I think it's fine that if this is what you see him doing is
Yeah.
taking DC DC, uh, excuse me, DC projects making them in a Marvel style and adding grittiness or blood or whatever, and you think
Let's say
that's
not
all
a
he's
Marvel
doing.
style, a Deadpool
Let me
style.
just finish. Let me just finish. I
Sorry.
think that's completely fine. If that's what you think. I just don't think we agree, and I don't think like you like trying to convince us is gonna happen. Like it's
Well,
just
I'm not trying
yeah.
to convince you guys. I know you guys love. Didn't you guys enjoy Zack Snyder's tone overall?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the. I had my issues with some of the movies, but yes, I did enjoy the tone, and especially the Justice League.
And he's his inspiration is coming from like very specific darker tone
Yeah.
comics that he's pulling from.
hmm
And I guess I don't see James Gunn dipping into that as much in the way that
For the
Zack
movies he
Snyder.
directs, sure, I don't think he's
Yeah.
gonna do that.
Okay.
But he's not directing every movie, right?
Well,
That's
He's the
with
true.
CEO
That's
of
true.
the
Suicide Squad, I
studio.
feel like he did a good job because Suicide Squad has always been like, here's a bunch of fuck ups who there's characters that we don't know what to do with them, and let's just throw them in a book and kill them off. And then some of the books are lighthearted, of course, and James Gunn did
Yeah.
nail that,
But I think James
according to the
Gunn
book.
picked the property that
Yeah, that was
suits his
suitable.
style
Yeah,
strongly, and he
Okay.
pulled it off well. Now,
yeah,
I don't think just because he did that for that property and for Peacemaker, he's going to start applying that
yeah,
style as a blanket style for all of
To
DC
the
movies.
okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Um,
I'm very curious where they're gonna take tonally. I don't know if Zack Snyder does do Man of Steel 2. I guess it'll be a continuation of his tone.
well,
I
so
would.
as of right now, Zack Snyder he's locked in with Netflix. I forgot what the name of the deal is, but so he can't make movies for DC right now. Because
Interesting.
he's locked in with Netflix. There's a
If
name for the deal that it's like a certain amount of movie deal that he has to do in a certain amount of time. So his time is tied to Netflix right now. Now I don't know if they're gonna wait a little bit longer for him to finish and then jump back on the ship, or they're gonna start moving forward maybe with some guidance from him or whatever. But as of right now, it's not confirmed that Zack Snyder is returning to the DCEU or Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm sure I'm not. I'm not gonna say I'm sure. Maybe they'll love to have him back when he has the time. Maybe they won't, and they'll just move on without him. Either way, right now he can't make movies with DC because he's tied with the Netflix deal. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry. What were you gonna? What else were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say like my personal opinions on DC. I enjoyed Suicide Squad. I
hmm
wasn't a fan of Zack Snyder's work. Matt Reeves' Batman is like
Yeah,
one of my
amazing. Yeah.
big 10 out of 10s for in a long time with superhero stuff. If it were up to me, I would give, especially because Matt Reeves has HBO shows coming out. I'd give
hmm
him the keys and I'd say, look, keep doing a Gotham, keep expanding the universe of your Batman however
hmm
you want. And if one day you want to start introducing some other Justice League names, some other connections outside, but they exist within the universe that you created, go ahead. I would love
Well,
an
I think they
expanded
can still
universe
do
in
that
his.
outside of the DCEU, right? Because they can run those two simultaneously. They don't have to they don't have to do what Marvel's doing where every single show, every single
Yeah,
movie, every
I
single
agree.
thing ties
Stay
in
away from
together.
the universe thing.
They can do Elseworld, right? So
Exactly.
the Batman is an Elseworld property. It's just it's on its own. It does its own
Interesting.
thing. They want to expand
Yeah,
that into its own little thing
yeah.
and world and universe. They can 100% do that. Give the keys to Matt Reeves like you said and let him go wild. Now with the DCEU, none of what Matt Reeves does have
Affects it. Yeah,
anything to do with the
And
DCEU,
they've already done
and
that
then
with the
they can
Joker. That's another
exactly,
one
and
that's
then
completely
Joker's
yeah,
another,
separate.
and they're making a sequel to that. So
yeah.
I
No,
think
it's
DC
good.
should just do that.
Yeah,
Uh, if they make a strong movie and they want to continue it, or a strong project and they want to continue it, just leave it. Don't you don't have to connect them all together because then that's when they start messing up,
hmm
and not everything needs to tie in together, right?
I
I
agree
love
with that.
these
I agree with that.
separate storylines that we see, and then maybe we will get a better DCEU under the new management, or maybe they'll scrap it and start over. Who knows? But it seems like they're still gonna try to continue it. They did reshoots for Aquaman. They did reshoots for Black Adam before it got released to add Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
They're doing some reshoots now for the Flash. That's why everything got delayed till next year. So they're trying to still keep what's going on and move it into a new direction. So hopefully it succeeds. Only time will tell. Who
Yep.
knows? But and last but not least, speaking of Amazon, they released their first image from the Fallout series. Now, I've never played Fallout myself. Dan or Rusty, I don't know if you guys have played Fallout
Yeah.
and how much you've
A bit.
enjoyed the property, but Amazon is adapting it into a series. I think I had covered it a while back that they're doing this, but they released the first image, and we're gonna get a Fallout show. They probably spent a shit ton of money on this also, and we'll see how it turns out. But
I think Fallout has as much like world building potential as Lord of the Rings did, and Lord of the Ring or like Rings of Power was detached enough from any characters that we would really care about that they could get really creative with it.
Mhm.
With the characters that they were bringing in, same thing with Fallout. Fallout has never been known for like hero characters that you're attached to. You're very much inhabiting the shoes of like a template character, and
Mhm.
it's your own RPG. But great factions, great overall world, great overall like aesthetic, and this like retro futuristic vibe. They really own that. So that could be really cool to see on screen. It just comes down to like, are they going to approach it with the same strategy they had for Rings of Power and just throw
Just
money at
throw
the
money
screen?
at yeah.
Then it's going to suck as much as Rings of Power did. But the potential's there, definitely.
Yeah, with
Cool.
Fallout, there's definitely a possibility for great storytelling, like Rusty was saying. And think of it as almost like working with a partially clean slate. It's like the universe is there, but
Mhm.
because there is like a regular type of character, you can literally do whatever you want. It's not like you have to follow any set thing. As long as you include the factions, which are a big part of Fallout, like Rusty just mentioned, and then, I mean, honestly, other than that, we really need to do like
Also, I saw in that image that you put there, it said Vault 33 at the bottom,
Vault twenty
and they
three,
all had like 30,
23.
whatever it was.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Imagine if they keep it. Well, I mean, the image is literally them exiting the vault, but I would
keep
love
it
a
at 33.
show. I would love a show that takes place in a vault for like at least a long amount of time because keep it contained and keep me curious about what
Character
the outside
driven, yeah.
world is. Yeah, imagine a show like Severance,
Hmm.
but in the world of Fallout, and it's people inside a vault and whatever the kind of crazy shit can
Season
happen.
finale, they get out the vault.
Yeah, something like that. But
Like that would be a big thing too for in the world of Fallout. That'd be huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, Rusty, thank you for joining us for
yeah. Thanks
this
for having me, guys.
episode. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for checking us out. If you like what you hear, follow us on social media. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, rate, comment below. Liking and subscribing is free for you, and it helps us immensely. God, my throat keeps hurting. And don't forget to go check out the Los Wise Guys website, loswiseguys.com. New content going up weekly. Thank you for listening, and have a great week.